instructors here. You guys recognize the shirt. I also work with Daniel at Dave Odd Defense. Jaime asked me to talk about a little bit about holster draw, just some do's and don'ts, very quick, down and dirty. You guys are all drawing, or most of you have been drawing from holsters and stuff, and just some do's and don'ts. It's pretty simple stuff. You just try to remember and do the same thing all the time. Once you get distracted, and you see that all the time on YouTube, the accidents happen, or whatever you want to call them, negligent discharges, discharges. So some of the things with the holster, first, the holster itself, the rigid type belt holsters are great for training, and they're giving you the same spot. You're putting the holster and the gun in the same spot all the time, and the clothing isn't really involved with the draw itself. So you want to start out when you're practicing with no clothing on. You want to make it the easiest. Well, yeah. You can go. Yeah, you can't get the holster on naked. Yeah. So no outer garments. Okay. Shirts and some of the stuff you guys have, you got to make sure it's tucked in. Anything that's out there when you're reholstering, that's going to get caught in that trigger guard. Bad word again?
No, some guys have
I'm joking. So anything gets caught in there and you jam it in there. So you never. The one thing, like a pet peeve I have when I see people like jamming the gun in, there's no reason to jam the gun in, because if something gets caught in there and you don't jam, it's gonna fire. It happens all the time with shirts. It happens a lot with jackets. When you have the outer the jacket and the I'm trying to look if anyone has one on. Those little I don't know what the grommets that you tighten, like the Columbia jackets on the fleece, that gets caught in there too. So it's a nice, easy reholstering. So to get good practice, you want to make it as easy as possible. If you have any holsters that collapse, opposite of this, so you have like a whole pancake holster, something that collapses, any kind of nylon, then the tendency there is to put your hand there to open it up, and now you're going to sweep it. So here, I can't get the laser on, but you can see I'll sweep it if I'm reholstering, and you don't want to point the gun at yourself at any time.
So what's the solution for that?
Don't use that holster. That's the solution for it. It's good for drawing, not good for reholstering. So when you're practicing, you want to get the draws in, so that the smoother the gun goes back in the holster, the more draws you have, the more practice you have, the more repetition. You want to have good repetition. So a solid holster, belt real tight. So the looser the holster is, the more it's going to catch on the gun, and as if it has any kind of retention on it, you'll be pulling the gun up and the holster will move with it. Ideally, you want to be almost uncomfortable if you're going to be practicing with stuff. So a pretty tight belt. The looser the holster is, then the gun will move around. You're expecting to go here, now the gun moved there. Just as you can see with this belt here, this belt is not made for this holster I have on, so I can move it back, and now I'm practicing here and it's moved on me. Follow where I'm saying? So you want to have that holster locked in the same place with the same kind of belt you have. The tighter it is, the easier the gun's going to come out. Some things on drawing the gun itself, two things are going to happen at the same time. Your strong hand's going to be going for your gun, and your support hand either is going to be moving stuff out of the way or going to body center. So with the draw itself, the first part of the strong hand is grasping the gun. You want to maintain or establish that master grip in the holster itself, so you're not changing the grip out here. If I have a bad grip here, now I got to adjust out here before I can shoot. So I want to establish that good grip. I come back and I come down onto the gun and I push the web of my hand into the back strap, into the slide there, so I establish that good grip. So I'm almost coming back and forward a little bit so I can establish that grip. My trigger finger is exaggerated a little bit, and then I draw the weapon out. As I draw the weapon out, in the old days we do grip, clear, click, like you're clicking your elbow. There's all different ways to do it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, numbers, whatever. The more important parts of that is this hand is, your strong hand's going to the gun, and this hand's going to body center. No matter where that gun is coming from, if I'm drawing from the ankle, as soon as I draw the gun out of the ankle, this hand is still coming body center, so then I could bring the gun out and then bring my hand, my support hand, to the gun. Because if I leave this hand out here, like here, I'm going to end up sweeping my hand. Or if I'm drawing here, I'm going to sweep my hand before I draw. In real life, there's tons of, these are all documented cases. We've already have all the evidence, all that stuff. People shoot themselves all the time in the hand, especially when they're fighting with the person. I know, personally know officers that have shot themselves while they're fighting with someone because they're trying to shoot the guy and their hand's way out here. Anything in front of the muzzle will be shot. So you'll establish that grip, clear the holster, bring the gun out, and then the support hand catches up. So kind of the index point under the trigger guard there is with your index finger. As soon as I hit there, then I wrap my hand, regular grip, whatever grip you're going to use, and then as I'm extending the gun out, I can put my finger on the trigger if I'm going to shoot and start to take up the slide. I really don't want my trigger finger on the trigger before I'm getting my sights onto the target itself, or before I get both hands onto the gun. Okay? So reholstering the exact opposite, fingers off the trigger. Here we could do a couple different things. You could do what's called a thumb check. In the old days with revolvers or weapons that had hammers, you would put your thumb on there in case it wasn't going into the holster. The hammer would start going back or something tripped the trigger and you'd feel it and then you'd stop and then adjust. But here with the thumb check kind of, it's just like an indexing point, and just to remember that your trigger finger gets exaggerated when I reholster. So I'm not holstering with my trigger finger close to the trigger guard. I kind of exaggerate it out, you guys can see here when I reholster. And I do the thumb check here, so now my finger's way outside the trigger. Okay, if it's anywhere close and you get the right kind of holster and you're under stress and you're trying to reholster quickly, you can't get your trigger finger caught in there and bam, it will fire. You've seen that happen too on the range with a police officer. So that finger is really exaggerated. If you have to decock, obviously do it out here. Don't do anything in the holster, and then you can reholster. You watch my support hands going back to body center as I reholster. Okay, I don't want to do anything here and then sweep myself on that. For inside the waistband holster here, and if you guys are carrying it in this position here, same thing, you'll move everything out of the way. The gun comes out first and then I join the gun just as I'm drawing. So if you guys practice this position here, we practice a lot from the low ready or high ready in one of the ready positions. This is about half of the drop from wherever you're going, because you're presenting the gun from this position here with both hands on the gun. The caveat when you're reholstering inside the waistband is you want to look into the holster. You don't want to be paying attention downrange. See, oh, what did I do with my target? There's no reason. As a civilian, you're probably not going to have to reholster. Okay, you're not going to go from a gun to fight. And if you're trying to reholster, it's really dangerous to reholster in this position here without looking. You really have to have a good setup. And what I mean by that, a good holster, make sure your shirt and stuff, and you've had thousands of repetitions doing it. I still don't like with a live gun to just reholster without looking into this position here, okay? There's a lot of stuff down there, I don't want to get shot. So I make sure I take my time and reholster. You'll notice when people get really target fixated, and these are paper targets here, you know, just holes, you'll see this. When they're doing all this, they're not focusing on what they're supposed to be doing. They're trying to look at the target. The target's gone, you shot those rounds already. Focus on what you're doing. If you have to glance down and look into the holster, go ahead and do that.
Inside waistband, same position back here.
You can. Now I'm just showing you this one. This one's easy. A lot of people want to carry this in this position today. You're faster in this position out of this than back here, but you're losing. You're kind of. It's more of an overt movement. So people aren't going to tell you. There's plenty of documented cases. When I say documented, you can look them up on YouTube, where people, oh, you're robbing me, oh, okay, and they kind of turn, I'm getting my wallet, and then the next thing they see is the gun because they're drawing it out back here in the 5 o'clock position, 4 o'clock. Here it's going to be kind of hard. Oh, I'm going to get my wallet. As soon as I go for a movement right here, my wallet, no one carries their wallet there. So the bad guy is going to know you're going for a gun. It's an overt movement. If you follow, you can't do like a subtle draw or try to get their attention some, because the gun is right here. It's right in front of me. I'm faster here, but you already have your gun out. You're robbing me. Guns out. So I'm like, no, I get you. I mean, or you would have shot me already. So you're trying to steal something. I'm saying, yeah, I got my wallet right here. They're not going to be able to shoot until they see the gun, because they just told you to move, right? They just told you, give me your wallet. So they're expecting you to move. You move to this position, yeah, you're going to lose.
So if civilians, we're unlikely to use our firearms, but in the day we do, aren't you better off to reholster, just literally unclip the holster, take it out, visually do it? Because this is one of the most tense times in your life. That's not when you want to improvise.
Right. For I can't take this off my belt. And some of these, now you're trying to clip, you're trying to do two things. If you're real nervous, just put the gun down. You can see the police coming. Put the gun down. It's the easiest thing. If you're having trouble or you can't get back into it, This is all dependent on clothing too. You know, these draws, when you draw from this position here, this appendix position, you see the real guys are real fast on TV. As soon as you change a shirt, it changes your draw because it changes how much movement you have in your forward hand to get this shirt out of the way. So some guys will wear a little shirt, you still gotta, you know, take it. If I have a baggier shirt or a looser shirt, now I have to lift that shirt heavier than a tight. So your wardrobe is just as critical as your holster is, especially when you're carrying inside the waistband, which most people do. I carry inside the waistband. I don't usually carry. This is for training here, so I get more repetition. You know, you can practice this dry at home. You know, that's just all the holster draws, and then you fire a couple rounds. A lot of people are like, I gotta train the way I, you know, yeah, you do. The hard part about this, or not the hard part, the part that I don't like about this myself is you're reholstering a lot. I want to be able to draw and have a lot of repetitions. I'm not practicing reholstering. I'm never, someone's going to say, you're going to time me how fast I can get it back in. So people will shoot and then they try to reholster fast. No reason to reholster quickly. You're just adding, you know, things you don't need to add. Reholster, you know, if you need to look down, look down. Look down at what you're doing in the reholster.